Hey everyone, Tom and Dan here to talk about Bone Frog Coffee. Tim Cruikshank is a retired U.S. Navy SEAL who's defended this nation around the world during the most dangerous of times. When Tim retired after 25 years, he wanted to give back to the very community he served. So Tim founded and developed Bone Frog Coffee Company for the specific reason to assist the naval special warfare community and the families of Navy SEALs by giving back 10% of all the proceeds that Bone Frog Coffee brings in.
During my day, and especially when we do the show, I drink Bone Frog coffee. It's all that I drink. I really love the Zen Frog decaf. Bone Frog has incredible sample packs, the perfect way to try all the amazing Bone Frog blends. Sample packs are 4-ounce samples of all 6 blends. And when you use our exclusive promo code Gold Shields, you get an additional 10% off individual orders and 15% off a subscription order. They have an iconic roaster, Dave Stewart, who has for 50 years developed a mastership of roasting, and he helps create their blends. He mentors and he roasts coffee for Bone Frog. They source their beans from the best fields in the world of Central and South America.
So make sure you go to bonefrogcoffee.com/goldshields and use our promo code goldshields. Look for their new blend, red, white, and brew, their sample packs. You can order whole beans or ground, whichever you like, and K cups. Make sure you get 4 bags for the entire month of coffees for one flat shipping rate. And not to mention their incredible merchandise of t shirts, polos, coffee mugs, shot glasses, and their great hats.
So go right now to bonefrogcoffee.com/goldshields and get 10% off your first order and also 15% off your Bone Frog Coffee subscription. Just enter Gold Shields at checkout. That's bonefrogcoffee.com/goldshields. And we're back here at Gold Shields. I'm Dan Murphy along with my partner in crime, Tom Smith. And today we have a very special guest as part of our September 11th Remembrance Month. We looked at a variety of things, Tom. We looked at our own personal experiences. We looked at civilians and their losses. We looked at Will Jimeno being buried. We were trying to cover a lot of different bases, but we're also making sure we cover the military aspect of it. And there's a second 9/11 that was very impactful, also a significant attack on American interests and American citizens. And we have a guest today who can talk about not just that, but a wide variety of things. And we are very honored today on Gold Shields to have Tig Tiegen, who was one of the survivors of the Benghazi assault on September 11th, 2012. And that should not be forgotten. The bravery and the men who were lost there should never be forgotten. Tig, thank you so much for joining Gold Shields today.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Uh, Definitely. I mean, listen, we were hoping for this for a while, and a very good friend of ours, uh, hooked this up for us. Jen Spears, who is a friend of both of ours, who took the time to get this together, and we thank her for that. But you know, September 11th comes around every year, obviously, and it's such a focus on what happened that day in 2001. And a lot of people don't realize that they know about the Benghazi attacks, they know about what happened that day, but forget it was on September 11th.
Yeah.
They understand what happened, but don't remember it was the same day or date in
It
2000.
started. Yeah, it started on the 11th, but ended on the 12th.
Right. Yep. And we're just listen. One of our things here is to get a backstage pass, and you're the ultimate backstage pass to that event. I mean, we couldn't have gotten anybody better. Probably, the other guys on your team, but we're thankful that you're here, and we just want to start with John Teagan growing up. You had a thought of going into the Marines very early in life, so let's hit up that and see where we're at. Let us know about John Teagan.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really know exactly where I was going to go. Initially, I wanted to actually be an Apache pilot. Yeah, I started really young, elementary school. I think it's because we lived really close to a recruiting station. So had nothing to do, so I always went over there, hung out. They always gave you posters. So recruiters always try to give away stuff. They indoctrinate you young,
Yeah, nothing's free though.
But
Nothing's free.
so yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
So moving on, around elementary school, actually ended up having to get glasses. So that kind of changed. Well, you can't fly because, well, now you can, but back, when I was joining, you couldn't do the LASIK and be able to fly. You still had, pretty much perfect vision. So and then finally one day I was watching, Full Metal Jacket came on, and that's kind of when I said, well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm gonna
that made you want to go in, not run the
Yep,
other direction?
That
yeah.
says a lot
And he
about
had a
you right
heartbreak rate.
there.
He had some good movies.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
It was just the challenge of it. It's just like, it's supposed to be the harder boot camp and stuff like that. So I was like, yeah, I'll go. And I hung around with a bunch of, Army guys, and, I was here in Colorado. So, I kind of, yeah, I see what kind of goofballs they are. I'll go to join the disciplined people.
Wow.
So you went to
I didn't
Paris
know,
Island.
yeah, Full Metal Jacket is a yeah, Full Metal Jacket as a recruiting tool is interesting.
Right? I
Uh,
mean, the boot camp thing was just epic. It was just, it was like, yeah, undisciplined kid. And, I was like, yeah, that's what I need. So.
so you get to Paris Island, you go through boot camp. How was that? Was it Full Metal Jacket?
Nah, not even close, man. It wasn't Paris Island. I'm a Hollywood Marine.
Oh,
Ah,
okay.
So,
San
yeah, I was
Diego.
on that line. So, yeah, I got to go to Hollywood, watch the planes take off from San Diego Airport, which really sucks. 'Cause you got to do they call it fire watch, but it's really you're just babysitting, making sure nobody, I don't know, runs off or whatever. But man, standing in the first phase, it wasn't hard. A lot of it's just I don't know really how to describe it. Just long, I guess. You're just like, man, this it does kind of suck in a way, but watching those planes take off at night when you're just standing there for an hour, it's like, man, I wish I was on that plane. You've seen them like 100 of them take off in that hour, if not more. So, but no, boot camp for me was extremely easy. I thought it was just I was physically fit. You know, you can yell at me all you want. Didn't really care. Teachers did it all the time, anyways. So I think I needed that physical aspect of it. But I got slammed a couple times. I would say not slammed. I would say shoulder checked. They tell you to stop moving, I'd keep moving. But we had 84 recruits and two drill instructors, so we got away with a ton of crap. That's what I'm saying. Boot camp for me was easy. Yeah, it was nothing like Full Metal Jacket. Not even close.
I don't know a lot that was like Full Metal Jacket, but uh, still one of that whole first beginning is still one of my favorites of all time. To watch that just over and over again. Uh,
We had a dude that actually snuck a donut into his Foot Locker. He was
Really?
a big boy. Yeah, yeah, we had that, and yeah,
oh
it was.
boy,
I was
they
like,
don't,
man, you got to be kidding me. All
some people
things.
don't learn.
No, it's like, did you not see that movie?
Was it a jelly donut?
No, I think it was. If I remember correctly, I think it was a glazed donut. So yeah, he was a fat body, but
Yeah.
Wow, that's funny. That is funny.
we didn't have to push for him. We all, I mean, he had to push for himself, and so that was kind of surprising. But anyways,
So you make it through the
yeah, boot camp.
Citadel.
Yeah, it was not.
Okay, you make it through the
What's
Citadel,
that?
you make it through the Citadel, you get your Eagle Globe and anchor, and, you walk on the parade grounds, and you're a Marine. Where do they assign you?
Yep, 29 Palms,
Okay, not too far away,
the
right there in
heart
California.
of the planet.
In the desert, yeah.
Yeah, so pretty much, it's really close to Palm Springs, so it's hot, really, really just hot. Um, the training though is probably one of the best trainings you can get because it's all live fire. You don't get the bad habits of with shooting blanks that you do, and that's really shown with a lot of units that come to 29 Palms and do like I forgot what it's called now, but at the time It was called a CAX, Combined Arms Exercise. But they used to go out there and they bring other units, and sad thing is a lot of dudes would die out there because they get shot because they're not used to actually the live fire. People don't really pay as close attention because they're so used to just firing blanks and just going. I mean, it happens quite a bit. Several Marines get killed out there every year, but we don't hear it as a public because it's just so
In-house.
yeah. I think when I was out there, they had actually a full bird colonel that got pretty much stitched up by a saw gunner, and it just happens unfortunately. But the training is just because it is all live fire, so it's just awesome.
And what
Living
years were that?
there, 95. Well, no, I'd say 96, 99 because boot camp took up 95, but so 96, 99. Living there sucked, miserable.
Oh, I'm sure. I was in San Diego a lot, while I was in JTTF doing a lot of cases. Went up to Pendleton a couple of times, out to Miramar. Uh, Coronado wasn't bad. The couple of times I was there.
Yeah,
Yep, tough place.
never made it to the stumps though, huh?
The what?
Never made it to 29 Palms. Call it the
No,
stump.
uh, no, I don't think so. Uh, and the couple of times, like I said, we were at Pendleton was like for a meeting, or same thing with Miramar was real quick. Uh, but I loved it out there. Dan and I are actually going to be in San Diego in October again, so I haven't been there in a few years, so looking forward to that. Uh, so you're done, and where are you actually? Where are you physically on 9/11/01?
So prior to getting out, I got married, and she was in the army. So initially I was going to go to MSG school. I kind of knew her beforehand, but I was going to MSG school. They told me I was too violent, and all this stuff. So we can't take you. You're going to cause an international incident. So MSG is Marine Security Guard, so they're the ones that go around and protect the consulate and embassies across the country, across the country, across the world. So, kind of telling this story is kind of funny also because of that. They said, you're going to cause an international incident. So, anyways, so I was like, what, screw you. I don't, because, I was already a sergeant and I didn't want to, to pick up staff sergeant, you had to do a B billet. I didn't want to do recruiting and I didn't want to be a drill instructor. So it was like MSG school. And I was like, well, screw it. I'm just going to get out. So it got married. So she was stationed up in Washington State. So that's where I was. It was in Tacoma, Washington. And whenever I got up and just you do what you normally do, you kind of turn on the TV and watching the news, just kind of seeing what the weather's like. And next thing you know, say, hey, a plane just struck the World Trade Center. So we're sitting there just kind of watching it, and she's getting ready to go into work as well. And next thing I know, another plane freaking strikes, and right then I was like, we're under attack. We're going to war. I knew it right away. I mean, it's not a coincidence. I mean, the first one, again, not knowing what kind of plane it was or anything, possibly could have been a mistake. Just mechanical failures, just never know. But seeing that other one flying in, I already knew it. So went to work. You still got to move on, and hearing all the more stories and stuff, and went down to the recruiting station, tried to rejoin, but they said, I was already at 10% disability because of my back. Went in and they're like, no, we don't need no broke dicks. We got hundreds of freaking tens of thousands of people signing up. So I was like, well, so I just kind of hung out, and she got orders. Can't even think of things are to go over to Kuwait. So when she got orders to Kuwait, I actually moved back to Colorado and bought a house and stuff like that. But while she was there, she found out about all the contracting stuff and a way to get in. So when she got out, we actually both went back over there as contractors for a company called CSA, kind of like a brown root. But I was doing base security, and what she was doing, I forgot exactly what she was doing. So we were both in Kuwait working, and I kind of, was trying to figure out other contract companies that were actually up in the combat zone doing all that stuff. Because at the initially, it was just the special forces guys that were doing it and stuff like that, really tight knit group. But then after the Blackwater guys kind of got hung up on that bridge, the security kind of really exploded. So it kind of opened up, more infantry level guys and stuff. And, a lot of law enforcement guys were coming over. Um, but, you had to be careful on what some of the companies you picked because some of them were really crappy. And, I had guys that, they talking with them that went, they would go up in soft skin vehicles, no guns. I mean, just stupid stuff. Guns that didn't work. They'd paint broomsticks to look like guns. I mean, doing stupid stuff. And then they were taking, one guy I was working with, he didn't make it out, but one guy I was working with at security at the base, he's like, well, they're going to pay people. I think it was like 60 or 30,000 a month. It was stupid price. He's like, I'm going to jump on. I'm like, dude, you better not do it. I mean, he was a cook in the military, is what he was. And I was like, you're not ready for this. Like, oh yeah, but we're going to go back. They're going to, going to do like a week long train up. Like, dude, a week's not long enough. You ain't gonna learn enough in a week to go into a combat zone. So again, he went, and unfortunately, they got ambushed, and a couple of them got burnt in the vehicles, but they jumped out on the contact side. They never jump on the contact side, but they jumped out and they just got mowed. No, but that's the problem with a lot of these companies. They offer people all kinds of money, but if I was with them, next thing you know, you got all these guys who don't really know what they're doing. You get yourself killed. So I took my time and just kind of researched a lot of the companies that I could, and then eventually I went in to put my application in the Blackwater, and that's kind of just followed that path, and that was my first deployment with them. I was it was like 2005. So then, I don't think I'm allowed to say that one.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Might be
Fair enough.
whatever the book said I was, I can say
Just say that place. That's all.
that
I
place.
was I was
So
there.
all the fun places that you get all the paradises.
Oh, right,
So
right. All the nice places.
so then when I was over there, deployed and stuff, doing going back and forth. Sometimes you're initially when I started with Blackwater, you could stay over there pretty much as long as you wanted. There are some guys that stayed for a full year, but you could tell it was taxing because it's a lot of stress, and but usually I would stay about 3 4 months. I'd come home for about a week or two, then go back 3 4 months. And every time I went back, the heard about the GRS thing, and somebody tells you you're not qualified or you can't do the job. Like, okay, let's challenge this. So I just kept doing it. And I think after a couple years of me hounding them, they finally said, "Screw it! We got an opening. We'll let you try out. If you make it, you make it. If you don't, leave us the hell alone." Because the GRS are supposed to have a minimum of 8 years special forces. So, and I was like, yeah, whatever. There's not much more that they know that I don't really know. It's all about tactics. And, I did urban war. I was an urban warfare instructor. I did the assault climbing course. So I did some of the small unit stuff that they kind of already had. But the one thing that I definitely didn't have that they had was the radio training. I think I saw a radio in the Marine Corps 3 times. You know, they hand you this radio, and it can send emails, it can, take pictures, and you're just like, "What?" So, yeah, so every time, when they found out I didn't know really a damn thing about radios, every time I went, I was always in charge of the radios.
Wow. Oops.
I still remember crap.
Oh, that's funny. That is funny. So you're with GRS.
So
Go ahead, please. I'm going to interrupt you. GRS is who you. Yeah. On September 11, 2012, you're with GRS.
yep.
And in Benghazi, how did you come to be in that assignment with them, and how long were you there when that happened?
You don't so sometimes you don't really know where you're gonna go, because at that point, I was considered a direct hire, so I wasn't working with, like, a Blackwater or triple canopy or anything like that. Um, I think I had enough attacks where I proved myself, I guess, so I could handle myself. So they hired me as a direct contractor, so reported directly to them, which allowed direct hires. They can go anywhere in the world that the agency is, pretty much. Where like guys that work with Blackwater and all that, or whatever companies are out there, they can only go where they have contracts with that company. So you didn't really know where you're going to go. You just kind of say, they would ask you, "Hey, we got this open. Do you want to go here?" If you say no, then you kind of like sit back until something else pops up. Or once you get on a rotation, you can continuously kind of rotate to that location. But they like to move you around, so guys can get they don't get burnt down in one location. So uh,
So when you were in Benghazi, was that in 2012? Was that the first time you were there, or had you been back and forth a couple of times to that location?
no, I'd been there several times. I was actually part of the team that went. That was the first team that went into Tripoli after the fall. Gaddafi was still alive actually, but we drove pretty much we flew into Benghazi from Crete, which is an air base, probably about an hour away by prop plane. That a lot of people don't seem to know about, but it's a military base also. So, but so we flew in, and then we kind of drove up from Benghazi up to Tripoli, opened that up. So that was my first deployment there, which was interesting. But then the next three were down in Benghazi. So I was actually on my fourth trip in Libya, but my third trip in Benghazi when 9/11 happened. So I kind of knew a lot about Benghazi, and I actually left. Technically, I shouldn't have even been there, but I was the Margaret, the ex-wife. She was pregnant, and she ended up having my kids ended up coming 2 months early. So I actually had left Benghazi a month early in February. So then I stayed home a little bit, I think about 2 months or something like that, and went back, came home, and then came back, and that's when September 11th happened. So if I'd have kept my normal rotation, I wouldn't even have been there. So if the kids would have been, on their normal rotation, I wouldn't have been there. So it's kind of weird how some things happen.
Right. I was just That's exactly what I was going to say. Weird how things happen, and we've said it a lot of times on this show that things happen for a reason. Uh, and
Yeah.
we know during that whole time of the 11th and the 12th, you had saved people and the team with. So that's probably why. So now that we talked about it, let's get into it because that's what everyone listening to the show and watching the show is waiting to hear. I think we built it up enough, so we'll cut with the suspense of the people listening and
Right.
uh and get right to it. So that morning, you wake up, it's a normal day. Now, the one question I have, if you can, uh, was there a threat stream that was active that you guys were kind of paying attention with Ansar Al-Islam, Sharia, at the time? Was there, okay, hey, we need to heads up on this. This might be a priority. This is something to watch. Was there a build up to what had eventually happened?
Nope. Not a thing. Well, I wouldn't say not a thing. So they knew it. We didn't know it. We're on the security team, so we don't need to know the threats that are coming, in
Yeah,
and
why
stuff
would
like
you?
that. I think it's because we weren't Sector 7. I think, but if you don't know Sector 7, that's off the Transformers. But there was one that we kind of found out afterwards. They actually put out a list of what they were going to do and how they were going to do it, and I can't remember the order now, but it was like I know they hit the Red Cross, so the Red Cross left. Then they hit the Brits, and the Brits left. So a lot of the other just to kind of make people leave, and I guess we didn't leave, they were going to hit us next, and that's kind of how the order went. But again, we weren't told about it. But so before I really get kind of dive really into it, so the stand down order to me was Bob. It didn't come from anywhere else. It didn't come from Hillary or anybody. The government can't think that fast, anyways, because you're looking about within 15 minutes of us finding out that he tells us to stand down. But when the British ambassador, I don't know if you can actually look it up. When the British ambassador was attacked, the GRS team that was there is the one that went and saved them. And the difference between them and our team is their team leader had the nuts to tell Bob to go to hell, and they left immediately. So, but again, he was told to stand down. I was there. The consulate actually had been attacked twice prior to 9/11. I was there the second time it was attacked, and there was only two security personnel that were there securing the compound. And when we got ready to go over there to kind of support and back them up, just in case there were follow-on attacks, Bob told us that night to stand down. So that was just Bob. That's who he was. Um, and again, I don't think it came from anywhere else but Bob's mouth. It's just how he was. But so that night, well, there's also other information that I can kind of tell you at the end also, which I just found out about last year and the 10th remembrance of Benghazi, and then I actually found out a little bit more this year also. So again, we're still finding out new information. But so we got the day was normal. It was 9/11. The ambassador arrived, the day before, and they were actually the State Department was contacting us, asking, how should they approach it? How should they maneuver him in? Should they do look kind of like a high threat movement, low profile movement? We're like, well, do they know he's coming in? And they're like, yeah, they're going to announce that he's coming. It's like, well, we might as well go high profile and just roll heavy. So they end up doing that, and the ambassador he came over the evening before and kind of he talked about the situation, what was going on in Benghazi, how it's kind of unstable because the elections were kind of were not kind of, but they were going on at that time. So they were actually assassinating police chiefs, kidnapping people, bombing local political offices and stuff like that. And it was a little bit different chaos from my previous two trips where it wasn't too crazy, but like the neighborhood gangs controlled their neighborhood, so they had different checkpoints and stuff like that. But a lot of the businesses were opened up. They were doing like their normal day-to-day stuff. And for the most part, we were very welcome there. They'd buy us coffee, they'd buy our food if we were sitting there eating. They'd come up, shake our hands, and say thank you for liberating us and helping us get rid of coffee. So for being a gringo Westerner in a Muslim country, that was kind of odd. You don't really just hate your guts. But anyways, so kind of fast forward. So about nine, again, I don't know the exact timeline, Tonto, whatever it is. But before we got the call, myself and Rowan actually went out in town because we're supposed to take the ambassador to the Persian Oil Golf Company for a meeting. And the State Department guys, the way they rotate, they don't have overlap. So they just replace all the fresh guys pretty much at once. So they didn't really know where the location was. And me being there so long, the crew that was there with me, the GRS crew, they're all new there too. Besides Roan had been there in the initial part of the invasion or whatever, or not the invasion, the initial part of the war. And so he kind of knew Benghazi a little bit, but he didn't know it was really his way around. So I kind of knew where it was, but me and him were supposed to be helping escort the ambassador to the location. I was like, okay, I know where it's at. So me and him took off probably about 8 o'clock that evening. And we went directly to where I thought it was. And then on the way back, we kind of did a route. Again, reason why you do that just to make sure that there's no instant checkpoints that would pop up and wherever you're going to be driving. So we kind of drove. It was all clear. On the way back, we drove by the consulate. We were driving by the consulate, so we called them and said, "Hey, we know where the location is. We know the route we're going to take. Do you want us to stop by now, or do you want to wait till the morning?" You're looking pretty close to 9 o'clock right now. And they said, "No, just wait till the morning. We got plenty of time." So, we drove by the consulate. Everything was calm, nice and neat. No chaos going on. And we went back and probably again right around about 30 minutes later. So we get a radio call from our team leader, Hush, that says, "Hey, we need all GRS team members to the team room." I was in the hooch. Jack, he was on the computer talking with his wife. I kind of got up and we figured either Tonto did something stupid again or
Isn't
something.
that everything that's going on? That's your first thought.
Yeah.
or 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 the ambassador, changed the schedule or something. So I was like, all right, Jack, just hang out here. I'll go see what's going on. And about 30 seconds later, as I'm getting ready to open the door, he gets on the radio. More urgent. I need all GRS to the team room now. I was like, all right. So I started. We kind of ran out. Didn't really run fast as in flip flops because I was getting ready to go night night, and ran out. Next thing you hear gunfire going on. I think I heard explosion or two or something like that. But it nothing. It was pretty normal for the most part. It'd been a lot quieter than normal, but we had this wedding hall right, pretty close to us between us and the consulate. And every time they'd have a wedding, they would celebrate with gunfire. Sometimes they shoot off an RPG, and wherever it landed, it landed. So it just didn't really pique my attention. But then when I linked up with the team with Hush, the team leader, he it wasn't that they were under attack; they were already under siege. So they've already been breached. Again, this is our first finding out about it. Again, like you would think, okay, no, they're just now being attacked, especially if it was a protest, right? Nope, they had already, they're already in a hard point. They're in a safe place. Yeah. So I run back. I tell Jack, say, hey, we got to go. The consulate's, it's under siege. So we get ready. We get our gear on. It probably took us, anywhere between 5-10 minutes. We come out of the hooch, and the vehicles have already been pre-staged by Roan and Tonto and OD. They'd already pre-staged the vehicles. Tonto and OD, they were doing the QRF, which is quick reaction force, because Oz, he was out in town with one of the case officers. So I go into the team room. I'm asking, so how do you know how many people they are, this and that. They said they have no idea. They said it's definitely a few dozen, because we had no idea. Then so I went, I grabbed a belt fed machine gun, and I grabbed a grenade launcher, went in the vehicle, and just started, doing function checks. I went in the lead vehicle. Roan was the driver. Jack was the passenger, and I was in the rear. So I'm just doing function checks. We're listening on the radio, seeing what's going on. State Department, they're on now. They finally remember we had a radio, because we gave them one of ours so they could communicate with us. Um, they're saying, we're under attack. This is what's going on. The ambassador, they're at the villa. And the other guys. One of the guys was in the talk, the tactical operations center, and then two of them were in the chow hall, or with also the berthing, the sleeping quarters as well. So that's where they were. So they were kind of spread out on this 8-acre compound, which is nice, right? And next thing you know, they said, "Hey, they're lighting the buildings on fire. We need you guys to get here now." I get out of the vehicle, and I get out actually on the driver's side. So our building 3 is over on the passenger side. Hush, Bob is the even Christmas. I'm drawing blanks. He's the
Station chief?
basic chief, the chief of base. Sorry. Yeah, no, not the station chief, just the chief of base. God, we would be totally screwed if he was station chief. But it's like having Hillary for president. Um,
Zing.
so,
That's the
so you
first
had,
one. Hold on. I want to keep score. That's the first one. Okay,
Yeah, it's
go
one.
ahead.
All right.
oh yeah, I got a few. so, so you had Hush, our team leader. Then you had Bob, the chief of base. Then you had the deputy chief of base. They're on the front porch. They're on their phone. And so I'm getting out. I said, we're losing the initiative. We need to get over there. They're digging in. It's going to take a lot harder for us to gain the compound back. The longer we sit here and freaking wait. And Bob, he comes back. No, stand down. You need to wait. And I'm like, what the hell are we waiting for? We need to wait for a plan. It's like, we got a freaking plan, and we really can't. Well, technically, we can't make a plan until we get over there, see what's going on, and then we move forward. And I was cussing a lot more. obviously,
Now,
and then
who's now just for not to cut you off, I really don't. I'm
no,
sorry
you're
for
fine.
doing this, but just to give
Oh,
the audience a perspective, who the f is Bob? Like, like,
he
what is he? Who is he? What's his like? Where is he to give you guys in the middle of this a standout?
technically technically, he's not. Um, when it comes to the security and protection, we technically our team leader is supposed to take over. But, he wasn't a very strong team leader, and again, he was lying to us also that night, which I found out this year. Um, but Bob is the chief of base. He's the one who controls the base. He can't fire us, but he can make it to where we can't come back to his base. That's the only thing he can do to us. Um, so anyway, so he told us to stand down, which makes more sense from what I know now. And we all know, I don't know if you all know, but Adam Schiff, he came down saying we lied about the stand down order so we can sell more books and all this bull crap. Well, yeah, Adam Schiff lied to the American public for what I know, because I know he knows the same information now that I know. But anyways,
The epitome of integrity.
yeah, I'd like to punch him right in the face. But anyways, um, so, Hush, he tells me, just get back in the car and whatever. So I just got back in the car and I told Roan and Jack exactly what transpired, and their kind of heads just kind of went down because they knew the same thing. Bob tells us to stand down. He's not going to let us leave because prior to me showing up, it's in the movie, but Roan it shows Roan and Jack getting hung up at a checkpoint, but in reality, it wasn't Jack that was with Roan. It was another GRS agent that was with him. They were stuck at that checkpoint for over 2 hours, and they were about 45 minutes away from where we were. So it would have taken us 40 if they started getting under shot at. It would have taken us 45 minutes to get to them. And even then, well, I wasn't there at the time, but he told the team that was going to react to it to stand down. Said you cannot leave this compound. So that's just how Bob was. He's just a douchebag.
Wow.
Um, Time starts going by, and for us, it was the last thing for us was when I want to say it was Scott. Can't remember which agent it was, but the security agent gets on the radio because again now the buildings are lit. They lit the 17th Feb building on fire first, and then they lit the villa on fire, trying to flush them out, kind of like rats, whatever. And so now the building's completely on fire. He gets on the radio and he says, "If you guys don't get here now, we're all gonna fucking die." And for us, there was no, we didn't even discuss it. Roan just pretty much just put the gear in and drive and started driving off. Hush, he's still not in the vehicle, so we start driving off. And next thing you know, Hush says, "I'm coming, I'm coming." So again, we never asked for permission. We were never given permission. We're just going to leave anyways. So Hush finally jumped in, and we let actually the trail vehicle. So we now became the trail vehicle. We let them go forward because they had the linguist in the vehicle with them as well. So in that vehicle, you had um, I believe Tonto was driving. No, I think OD was driving. Tonto was passenger, and then you had our team leader and the linguist in the back. Because normally the team leader he would sit in the passenger seat, but since he didn't want to go initially, he had to sit in the back with like one of us. So again, that proves more that we did not wait for permission to go. We were just going to go. But anyways, um, so we get over there, and there was a team of, again, I don't know who they were, militiamen, military guys. They were actually actively engaging with the attackers, which that which was good, kind of surprising. I When we got there, I get out of the vehicle, I grabbed the grenade launcher because it's a force multiplier. I get up there, launch 3 rounds as fast as I could, reloaded with the fourth round, kind of came up, getting ready to engage when that's when I noticed everybody there's no more gunfire. I go back, I start walking back to the vehicle, and it was kind of weird because I remember hearing, this I call him the little short fat guy. That's what he was. I don't know who he was, but the little short fat guy, and the linguist is relaying to what he was saying. I just remember that the linguist was telling the team leaders that they have the contact information, and he's contacting them to see if they'll release the Americans. I'm like, this is just so freaking weird because you're still looking. It probably been about 45 minutes by now or something like that. And to me, for them to know exactly who the attackers are, I mean, it's like that information moves quick. And, so I was like, anyways, thought that was weird. And I asked, I noticed Tonto and OD were gone. And I was like, where'd they go? I said, oh, they just started jumping over walls, get up on high ground. I was like, all right. Again, I wasn't even talking, just relaying exactly what I was doing. I just threw the grenade launcher back in the vehicle, grabbed the belt fed machine gun, said, I'm headed out, and started walking. Ron and Jack, they kind of ran up with me, and we just started walking down the road. I actually got on the radio because I know uh, again, Tonto and OD, they had started moving, and I didn't want them to think that we were bad guys moving or something like that. So I got on the radio and said, "Hey, we're moving towards the consulate down the dirt road." And it also let the State Department guys know that we were moving because we were still on the same channel, and let the base know. What's what we called it. We called it base. Let them know what we were doing. So we started going down. Um, we just go. We get into the compound. Um, Initially, when Roan went in first, Jack went in second. Then I was entering. I received gunfire um, from the east, the direction that we were walking, and so I dropped down immediately. One of the guys that were actually engaging when we showed up, one of them was behind one of the Jersey Bears. Came up with his AK. Just did a full auto AK dump. Allowed me to kind of move up to another barrier and get the belt fed up, and I was getting ready to dot. Because I couldn't see anything initially because a lot of the floodlights were kind of blinding us for the most part. Um, so I couldn't really see out totally, but I was going to try to put my night vision goggles down. And as I'm reaching up to get ready to flip them down, a guy walks out, probably about 25 yards away. But he has his hands up. He's saying 17 Feb, friendly, friendly. Again, I don't know who anybody is. I don't even know who the guy is that just shot his AK. For all I know, I mean, he could have killed me. But I knew he was there, but I didn't know who they were. So I look over at him. He looks at me. He shrugs his shoulder. So that kind of, obviously there's a language barrier. So I don't think he knew who the hell this guy was. I know I didn't, but I was like, whatever. I knew that I had just had two guys in there. I didn't hear any gunfire going on in the compound, so I knew it must have been semi-secure. So I got up, I turned, I start going through the front gate. Um, First thing you see is the villa. It's just engulfed, black smoke coming out, pretty much covering the floodlights. You can barely see the floodlights through the smoke. It was so thick. Um, Keep going forward, and off to my right, you can see the 17 Feb building. You see the carport. There's two vehicles in there, completely engulfed in flames, almost burnt down to the frame. There's one vehicle right in front of the I'm gonna just call it their barracks, but their barracks, and it's completely engulfed. But the building, it was even more in flames than the villa was. But the strange thing was there was actually a local just walking away from the building, walking down like the driveway. I mean, it was a pretty long driveway, just kind of walking up, kind of nonchalant, like he's just out for a stroll. And he had no weapon in his hands, no nothing. So I got, so I got the machine gun. It's up in my shoulder. I mean, I'm ready to engage, kind of almost like in a low ready. And he didn't make any movement. I could kind of see his face, but so no big threat. So I just kind of bypassed him, kept moving forward. The villa, it was probably about a good, you know, 50 yards away from the front gate, something like that, maybe close to 100 yards, but it was a pretty good distance. So I kept just moving forward. Every now and then, I'd check my six just to make sure that dude wasn't trying to run up behind me or something. But start walking up to the console. I can hear some banging going on, so I'm assuming they're just clearing. They had some other besides the villa. There's like other like living quarters on the off to the side of the villa. So I'm assuming that's where they're at. They're kind of clearing, make sure there's no bad guys going around. So instead of me moving up and spooking them and me getting shot, I just kind of stayed outside the building and just kind of kept pretty much security, perimeter security. Man, I can't even think. Um, and there's like this horseshoe fighting pit. So I was just kind of standing by there. and I can hear Tonto and OD. They're saying, "Hey, we're moving, we're coming in, we're moving closer to the compound." I got on the radio, let them say, "Hey, we're on the compound," and still no, haven't heard anything from the State Department since they said, "Hey, if you don't get here now, we're all going to fucking die," which I thought was kind of odd. But anyways, so as I'm standing there, I can hear them doing a lot of banging off to my left hand side where the villa is, and the tactical operations center, is also on the left hand side, but it's on the other side of the compound. It was like two compounds made into one. Next thing you know, as I'm standing there, I can hear a vehicle start, and I was like, "This is just so weird." I'm like, "Okay, I guess maybe they got a hold of the keys and they're going to steal one of the vehicles." Because again, no State Department's on the radio yet. So I'm like, "Okay, here we go." And I can hear the vehicle. It's coming because there's only one way on and off the property. You can't get off the property from the other side because they got the other gates over there just barricaded. So it started. I can hear it coming down the little dirt path. I started stepping out from around the horseshoe firing fire pit, and I see the vehicle. It kind of starts turning the corner. I get the machine gun up, taking the slack out of the trigger, and I'm just kind of waiting, just looking, making sure, don't want to get too trigger happy. And next thing you know, I see one of the State Department guys. That was Dave Ubin. He's like leaning forward and like, like, "Hey, it's me." I'm like, "Yeah, damn it," because it was kind of depressing in a way because you don't really get to shoot your own government vehicle and not get in trouble for it. I almost got to do that. So, yeah, with a belt-fed machine gun of all things,
Right.
wingtip. So, anyways, I was like, "Damn it." So, they pull up, they back into the front door of the villa. Again, I still don't know really what's going on. There's still no radio traffic. I move up and I move up to the front porch and Roan's standing there and I'm like, "Hey dude, what's going on?" And that's when I was informed they don't know where the ambassador is. They don't know if he's inside the building, know if he took off on foot. I mean, they have no clue whatsoever. I'm like, "Okay, so what's the plan?" And as I said that, I kind of look over off to the right hand side, which is where the safe room window was, the exit and stuff like that. And there's a body laying there. Jack was over the top and looking at him, and I couldn't tell who it was. And I go, "Is that one of ours or one of theirs?" And he's like, "I have no idea who it is." And of course, I'm like, "Oh, hopefully it's one of theirs." And then we proceeded. I said, "Hey, we got to clear. If you cleared the main living area." Mind you, a lot of again smoke just come pouring out, black, thick, just the nice, fun, thick black smoke. Um, he said no. So, for us to even operate, we had to make sure it was secure for the most part. So myself and Rome, we start moving in, trying to clear as much as we can. We get in just a few feet, but the heat just kind of overwhelmed them. So we both turned around, came back out, and kind of like caught our bearings really quick. 'Cause it was almost like you go to like those bonfire parties and you're like 1 foot from it, it just fries your skin. That's what it felt like. That's how hot it was. Just, I mean, you instant sweat. I mean, it was just so freaking hot. And then you couldn't see. But so we went in. I'd probably say like 3, 4 times. Can't really remember right now, but I had since I'd been there prior, and that was actually used to be the actual embassy until they opened up Tripoli, the embassy up in Tripoli. I'd been in there a couple of times, so I kinda knew the layout, just not the layout of the safe room. So, I knew where the safe room was, so the last time we went in, I went off to the right and just kinda hugged the wall until I knew exactly where it was. I could see the bottom of the safe room, and I just yelled for Chris, twice, got no response. So for that told me, like for one, if he's in there, he's dead, or he's not even in there at all. So I immediately turned around, came back out, and as I was standing outside, I could hear Roan. He's inside saying, "I can't find my way out. I'm lost." I went back in and tried to remember the direction that he went, and we just kind of did a little Marco Polo and linked up with him. Immediately turned around, went out. Um, and about this time is when Tonto and OD finally decided to join the fight. So, we're probably there for like 20 hours and they're out having tea across the street, I think. I'm not really sure what they're doing, but No, so they were trying to figure out how they're going to get in. They're like, oh, we're going to ram the gate. We're going to get this guy to let us use his truck and jump up the wall. They were trying to figure out all kinds of things. And so they finally said, hey, we're coming over. We're just going to climb over the wall. That time, myself and Roan, again, big, huge property, had great grapevines and stuff like that. Our MBGs were useless for the most part because of the way the lights were situated. And having those orchards and stuff that with the way they're laid out, there could be anybody in there that anywhere. So we didn't have enough guys to actually cover every single line and corner. So we just kind of went out there and covered as much as we can. They jumped over the wall. Tonto turned or the gate. Tonto turned and opened up the gate to let the guys in that followed him. And he told them, if when you come in, make sure you lock the gate. If you open it up, close it, lock the gate. And unfortunately, they didn't. Unfortunately or unfortunately, depends how you look at it. But unbeknownst to us, they didn't lock the gate. But so we had to continue to go and clear the other side of the compound. We moved over, got over to the command post, got the guy to open up the door, and they started going in. He asked us to help him get a lot of the sensitive equipment, the computer stuff. So when they were in there doing that, I just came outside and I held up security position underneath their carport. So I was just kind of like right next to one of the trucks. It was probably only about 15 feet, 20 feet away or something like that. And so I'm just kind of sitting there waiting. My back's towards them because I'm watching the open area. And next thing you know, I hear Hush on the radio saying, "Hey Tig, where you at?" I'm like, "I'm over here at the talk," because you're over there all by yourself. I'm kind of like, that's kind of creepy. I'm like, oh shit. So I did the Carl Lewis, got the gun up, and I freaking bolted. So I probably did the 100-yard dash in about 3 seconds. It's a good puppy because again, you don't know how many people are there. It could be. I mean, there's a lot of places to hide. So I get over there and they still haven't found the ambassador. They still don't know where he's at. So I get back out. I, I get up on the porch where the safe room window is. They had moved. Uh, what ended up being Sean Smith's body from there into our vehicle because Hush had drove his vehicle, their vehicle onto the compound. So they had loaded before, yeah. So they had loaded Sean's body into the back of our SUV. But I get over there and, same thing. They didn't know where the ambassador was. They had no idea if he was still in the building. They're trying to search. They can only go so far because we didn't have the right, equipment to go into a burning building. Gas masks don't really work very well in a burning building. You need, the oxygen masks, unfortunately. But so I went in and didn't know the layout of it. And I got the layout of the first room, but the first time I went in, I was trying to open up there's another window right next to it. I didn't know how their shutters worked, but I was trying to get that damn thing open so we can get more of the smoke to dissipate to try to get it out of there. Because what happened is when they were in there when they started the fire, the security agent actually busted out the window in the bathroom, which caused the smoke just to suck right into the back. So that's kind of when they freaked out and they started scrambling. That's how the ambassador got lost. Um, but so I went in a few times trying to figure out the layout of this of the room in the building in the back because I think there was like 4 or 5 rooms in the safe room. But again, I didn't want to get lost in there myself, so I was just trying to follow walls. And when your adrenaline's pumping, you've been running, and all this fun stuff. You're breathing. You can't just say hold your breath or you're in a fire. Yeah, yeah. Good luck. When you've been running and your adrenaline's pumping, you're not really holding your breath. So not in staying in there very long, going in and out, and remember the last thing I kinda when I came out is the team leader had gathered all the State Department guys up and was getting them into their vehicle, and I'm just like, one of the things that kinda popped in my head was, Black Hawk Down when they had the Americans and dragging them through the street and even the BW, and they hung them from the bridge, so those things are like, pretty fresh in my brain right then and there, and thinking, "Man, we got to find this guy if he's in this building." And so as I'm kind of standing by myself, I go, "Hey, I'm gonna go in one more time and try." And Hush, he gets on the radio. He says, "No, just kind of just hold on. I don't follow orders very well." So I'm like, "Yeah, screw you." And one of the things that kind of popped in my head was, like elementary school when the firefighters, I don't know if they still do, not, I don't think they do anymore, but they used to come to school and teach kids on what to do if there's a fire. And one of them's like, "If you're in a fire, there's a lot of smoke. Get on your belly, get below the smoke." Well, popped in my freaking head, and I'm like, why didn't I think of this? I took all my gear off and got my flashlight, and sure enough, it works. So I'm in there. It's not like clear blue sky or anything, but so I'm down there. I'm crawling on my belly. I'm looking. I actually looked underneath the bed, and I still stayed against the wall because still didn't know what the layout was. So it took me a while. So I crawled out of that room, went around, got into the bathrooms, looked in the bathroom, looked in the shower, looked in the linen closet, came out of that one. Then there was another uh, uh, bedroom. Looked underneath the bed, felt on top of the bed, went around the other side of the bed, went into that closet, again, all crawling, so it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of crawling, and it's on, marble, so you're slipping more. You're like, you'll forward one, you take 2 back kind of a thing, but so, as I'm starting to go out of that room, my body's probably, like, halfway in, halfway out, and I can see where the other doorway was where initially where the safe room window was, and next thing you know, a huge explosion just goes off behind me, and that was counter assault to us moving them off. So now we're being attacked again, and so I jump up, I run towards that door, I get out the window, and I put my gear on. By now, another RPG went off. There's a lot of gunfire going back and forth. Get my helmet back on. I go and I look around the corner, and I just try to see where the gunfight's coming from. I could see one of the guy again, just a local. I didn't see any of our guys yet. A local was standing there and he was shooting towards the back gate. So, all right. And there was a ladder right next to um, in the safe area right there, and that went up to the roof. So I got up on the roof. I got a hold of. I just went on the radio and said, "Hey, I'm up on the roof." That was just to let people know, just in case I got shot and I was up there and they're looking for me or something. So put the radio away, started going towards the back gate. I'm kind of crouched down, just trying to stay low. And just as I get all these buildings over there, they have like a very much like a 3.5 foot wall around the top of them. So they're all like concrete, all flat. They're not like us. We have arches and all that fun stuff. They're just flat concrete, which, anyways. So as I moved up towards the back, I come over the top of the wall, and there's a guy that just the same time I came up, came into view, and he was getting ready to shoot an RPG. I just I let loose. I think it was about a 15 round volley of fire. I saw him drop, and when he fell, pretty much all the gunfight stopped. It was almost like a switch. I mean, there was like a quick little couple pops, but other than that, it just stopped. Um, the other guys from the team came up. It was actually OD and Tonto came up first, and then next thing you know, Jack came up, and we're kind of sitting there, we're trying to figure out, okay, what are we going to do? We couldn't go in the building. The State Department guys, when they weren't there, right? They had taken off by now. But what happened is when the counterassault happened, Tonto went and took cover behind their vehicle because it was an up armored vehicle and started engaging at the back gate, and instead of them getting out and helping us defend their compound, they literally honked the horn to get Tonto off the vehicle so they could drive out. Which to me, I still don't understand why would you do that? Why wouldn't you stay and fight? I just don't understand. But anyways, they were told when you do leave, go to the left, don't go to the right. So when they left, they went to the right, and that vehicle that I was going to shoot up, Ansar Al-Sharia got to shoot up. Um, but luckily, they had run flats and all that stuff because they threw grenades at them, and they shot every window up, and they had bullet holes all over the place. But they were able to get back to our compound. But unfortunately, when they did that, they also got followed. So that's how they knew exactly where we were. Um, but so we're up on the roof. We're trying to figure out what we're gonna do. If we're gonna just kind of try to hold this position, wait for the fire to go away. Waiting, we're still thinking, okay, waiting for 17 Feb to show up so we can secure everything and make sure the ambassador's not in the building. Um, so as we're sitting there, I one weird thing was there's a grocery store right across the street, and you could literally see kids, pretty much families, just lined up at this grocery store just watching. It was just like they're like, "Holy freaking crap!" Just it's kind of like back in the day when the Civil War going on or whatever, and families having picnics as a big battleground. That's pretty much what it was. But we're actually shooting in their direction, so you know, whatever. But it was just crazy. And then the drone had actually the first drone showed up before. No, I think it was after the counter assault. And so he was up there flying, and we got word that there's about a. They said there's about another 150 individuals moving towards us from the east. So, and that's where the Ansar Al-Sharia compound was. So again, there's pretty much technically five of us, but there's then we had the Hush, the team leader, and the linguist. So there was technically seven of us there, but only five of us were truly able to engage. And I don't know, 2, 3 dozen unknown individuals on the compound, which some of them could have been part of the initial attack. We had no idea who these people were. So we made the tough decision. We got to go. I mean, we just don't know. And again, we might be dying just for a building, versus somebody be actually being in the building. We had no clue. So we get in our vehicle. We leave. We go to the left, and we're getting ready. We're as we're driving down the road, we're getting like, okay, we got to stop and get the vehicle. And as we come out and go to turn to where we actually left the lead vehicle that myself, Roan, and Jack were in, which is where the grenade launcher was. If you watch the movie, I did not lose the grenade launcher. It was put back in the vehicle because it had no fling. So, um, but there was like I don't know, probably about 40, 50 people out there. Again, no idea who it was. Instead of us breaking seal and not making it back, we left the vehicle. Again, the grenade launcher was there. My passport, Jack's passport was in there. So, we kind of left a few things, and we went back to our compound. We get there. Oz had been back for a while, and he had set up our local guard force in this different positions. He said we had a two. We also had two static guys that were there that were part of the agency, and he had him situated watching. One was watching the cameras. One was kind of keeping an eye on the front gate and stuff like that. So when I got out, I was just like, okay, what tower's open? And he's like, tower two. So I went over to the tower two, and as I was standing, time's going by. Right now, though, I think they said it's probably about 12:30 when we got back to our compound, or midnight or something like that. It felt like to me like we were at the consulate for hours. I mean, it felt like hours. But and anyways, so I'm standing there in the tower, and one of the neighbors comes. We turned the floodlights on so we could see inside Zombieland, because I busted my nod, so I had no more night vision. And Tonto had broken his as well, because he's just a klutz. No, a wall fell on him, so it broke his night vision. So we didn't have any, so we turned the floodlights on. More of advantage of us, plus it would blind them coming at us. And so the neighbor comes out and he says, "You guys need to." So he's Durka Durka, and I didn't understand the Durka Durka stuff. So one of our local guard force, he speaks English, and he can do the translation. So he comes up to the tower I'm at, and he's translating. He's saying, "Well, he's telling us we need to turn our floodlights off because they're gonna know where we are, and they're gonna come here and attack." And I'm kind of like, "Who's gonna know where we are, and how do you know they're gonna attack us?" So he relays that back to him. The dude just throws up his arms and walks away. And over there, every compound, every place has gates, big walls. I'm like 12 to 15 foot walls, and he goes back into his compound after he throws his arms up, and I'm just like, that is just so weird. Real red flags are kind of clicking, and I was like, just That's just odd. And next, about 2 3 minutes later, his gates fly open and like 3 cars fly out. Nobody stops and closes the gates. Like that is so weird because they protect their houses and stuff like that. With the walls because walls keep things out. So because walls work, right? And so
Zing. Wait, wait, wait. Zing two. Bing,
Oh
bing.
my
right.
god. And the references, I gotta
So
tell you, the Durka Durka reference is classic, and anybody watching this who knows what we're talking about, it's absolutely
right.
classic. Durka Durka jihad, Durka Durka,
I
Durka
don't
Durka.
dirk dirk Mom jihad. But so I get on the radio. I'm saying, hey, Hush, where you at? And he's like, I'm on the front porch. He's like, all right, I'm gonna come meet with you. I just had a weird altercation, and so I head over there. I'm sitting there talking, let them know what's going on, and I'm asking about 17 Feb. Tonto's asking about 17 Feb, and they keep saying we have no contact with them, this and that. So we're like, it's kind of weird, and there's like we're trying to get a hold of them. Um, that's when I found out about the team from Tripoli. There's a team from Tripoli. They're going to be coming down. And so as we're sitting there kind of talking, um, I hear, I think it was Tonto. Tonto gets on the radio and said, "Hey, there's a bunch of vehicles loading up in the parking lot, and the parking lot's probably about 200 yards from our wall." And again, that's when Tonto is this 17 Fed, or is it the local law enforcement, or is it anybody? And Bob actually was on the radio because I was sitting there talking with Hush and says, "No, we don't have any communication. We're not expecting anybody yet." It's like, well, okay, this ain't good. But again, we don't know if it's good guys, bad guys, so we just can't. If we would have known, we'd have started engaging them when they saw them in the parking lot. But so at this time, though, Tonto said, "Hey, can you grab me a new set of night vision goggles?" So I was like, "All right." At the same time, Oz is asking for water, and so I went in the team room, got him another set. We only had one extra set. Walked down to the chow hall. I get that, and I hear them like, yeah, they're starting to move in. They're starting to, fan out. Maybe they're like, are they securing the perimeter, stuff like that? Again, nothing from Hush or Bob at this point. I go up, climb up on the roof. I put the night vision goggles on the edge. I say, "Hey, Tonto, the night vision goggles are here by the ladder." I go down, start walking over to where Oz is. Oz is over in Tower 3, and we call it the prison gym because it's just an outdoor gym. It's just got like a canopy cover kind of thing, like a car cover. And next thing you know, something flies over the wall, lands, and explodes. It's probably, I don't know, 30 feet away. So it explodes. The case of water I had, I just kind of drop it and I kind of put my hands up to kind of protect my face from the debris. And after it goes away, I'm starting, I pat myself down really quick. I can hear gunfire going off. An RPG launches over the compound. I can see Oz, he's over there engaging. Once I knew I wasn't like had any major holes in me. I had some minor ones at the time, but nothing major. So, because a lot of people don't realize when your adrenaline kicks in, you don't feel pain. So you have to physically touch your body and see if you feel anything. But so I immediately run up, I get up in the tower, and I start engaging. Oz, he's off on the right side. He's engaging, and since I broke my night vision goggles, I'm actually going off the flashes because there's two ways that a lot of people shoot, especially over there. If they shoot, they're going to be right-handed. They either shoot from the hip or from the shoulder. So when I'm sitting there, I'm aiming. I'm just kind of moving my rifle over just a little bit and kind of bringing it down, just because I'm hoping they're in their shoulder. So, but I'd shoot at the where the light is. About 4 or 5 rounds each little pot shot that I saw. Maybe I hit them, maybe I didn't, because they're it wasn't like in the movies where it's a wide open field. They had a lot of concealment, so they're behind a bunch of brushes and stuff like that. And so you can shoot at one, another one pop up over here, another one pop up over here. As you're just engaging. Next thing you know, I get tagged in the side. There was some again. Oz was engaging those guys over there, so they're probably aiming at him. That's why I got hit. I know in the movie it shows me getting hit and shot in the chest, falling down and laying there for like 45 hours. But that's anyways. So I got hit in the side, and Doing it for so long, it's the first time I call it the battle rattle because we had different sets for different situations, and that was like the full combat kit. First time I've actually put it on, and it's the one that actually had the side plate protection. So it was the first night I ever wore it, and well, I put it on to make sure it fit, but so that's what hit. It actually came in and hit my side plate. I kind of it hurts. I mean, it puckered me, and I kind of went down a little bit, went behind because the walls you couldn't. If you stood up, you're way too high. And if you took a knee, you couldn't see over it. So whoever designed the tower and the measurement was stupid. But anyways, so I kind of went down, took cover, put my hand up underneath the plate, make sure there was no penetration and stuff like that. In case I had to patch my own wound because it self aid first. I didn't feel anything, so I got back up and started engaging back in the fight, and, again, not really sure how long it lasted. I'd say 10 minutes, 15 minutes, at the time, it felt like an hour. Felt like it forever. Um, so we repelled, the first assault on our compound, so now this is what, the 3rd technically assault, 2 at the consulate and then 1 at ours, and, sitting there, time's kinda going by, um, kinda let Oz know what was going on, saying, "Hey, that we got a team from Tripoli coming in. Not sure what's gonna happen with them. If they're gonna come to our compound, or if they're gonna go over to the consulate and try to, see if the ambassador." So we just didn't really know what was gonna happen yet. But during this time, I think again that was probably about 1 in the morning, and so between that attack and the other attack, the staff personnel were going, one at a time, kind of being escorted in case we got attacked. They could bring them back to the safe house. They're going and getting all the personal belongings, like their wedding rings, wallets, whatever, because we were going to evacuate the compound. Once they were done, I got on the radio and I said again, asked Hush, "Hey, what's your location?" Front porch. All right, I'm going to come to you. So I came because I tried to leave the radio as clear as much as possible. Um, so I went to him saying, "Hey, dude, you got to allow us to, go to our berthing and get our personal belongings because we didn't carry our wallet on us, or people were married, they didn't carry their wedding rings on them usually, stuff like that in case they got captured. It was just you didn't carry their personal stuff, and get our toiletry stuff, get underwear, socks, because when you leave everything else behind. Just kind of grab about 3 days worth of stuff if you can. So I go in, I start getting my stuff packed. But when I was sitting there talking with them, they'd actually finally they had gotten communication, because one of the State Department guys lost his phone and it was found over there, and they were able to get a hold of us, and they proceeded to tell us that the ambassador's at the hospital, and and that he was dead. So this is again about 3 o'clock in the morning or so, and is what happened is they found him about pretty much while we were being attacked is when they found him. But they found him. I don't know if you guys saw the video of them, bringing him out of the window, but he was found in there, in actually in his bedroom. So he was actually in the far side of the safe room. They found him on his bed. It's the same thing, when you panic and you stress, you go to what you know. So he probably was always going just back and forth from his room to that bathroom. So that's probably what he did. Um, but when they got him out, I know a lot of the news was saying that, I don't know if you guys know about did you guys ever see that picture of that guy who was just like totally mutilated? And they kept saying it was the ambassador. Well, that wasn't him. That was actually an Egyptian guy from like 2006 or something like that. So, but so the ambassador was never, you know, tortured, raped, or mutilated. Um, when they got him out, they had no idea who he was initially. Um, but what his neighbor, Ambassador Stevens was really friendly with people, so he invited the neighbor over and stuff like that. So his neighbor recognized who he was, told it he had his driver over there with him. Told the driver to go get his car. When his driver was getting the car, he grabbed the ambassador from all the people that were there, and carried him to the car, threw him in the car, and drove him straight to the hospital. Um, But I saw the video footage from the moment that he was taking him up. You can see because he's just got it on recording because he was recording it too until he realized who it was, and he left his phone on recording. But dragged him up when he put him in the car. The phone was on his face, and you could just see his. You could tell then and there he was gone. I mean, somebody's not there anymore. So that's kind of what happened with the ambassador. But so I go get my stuff. And as I'm packing my stuff, Tonto gets back on the radio. We were also when we got back to our compound, he requested the Spectre gunship. People don't know it's the C-130 that's got like a 50 cal on it. It's got a grenade launcher or a 30 millimeter grenade launcher on it and a 105 cannon on it. So it's very close support air cover, and that never actually got put out that we wanted air cover. But anyways, so as I'm packing my stuff, they're saying, "Hey, they're starting to gather up in the parking lot again. Is this 17 Feb?" And this time Hush gets on the radio and says, "No, we got no communication yet with 17 Feb." I was like, "Okay, whatever." So, now it's about 3 o'clock in the morning. Like 6 hours into this thing, still no communication with 17 Feb, which is the quick reaction force for the State Department. Their genius idea of hiring these people. Put my stuff down, come back out. I'm kind of talking with Hush a little bit. Don't really remember the conversation. And then next thing you know, RPG comes flying over the top. I can hear Oz. He starts engaging. Um, so that initiates the second assault. I run back over towards the tower, get up in the tower, start engaging. They kind of did the exact same. They're just kind of doing like a frontal assault, for the most part. Not again, they don't really have tactics, anything like that. Um, there's 3 guys that kinda try to flank us, but they had no tactics, so, me and Oz kind of pretty much saw them at the same time. We turned, engaged. We got 2 of them that kinda slowly crawled their way. We didn't I don't know if they died eventually, but they crawled their way back. One of the dudes was dragging one of them. But again, that firefight probably lasted about the same amount of time, I would say, maybe a little bit longer. Each I think the first one probably had 20, 30 guys, the other one maybe 30 to 40. It wasn't like a wave of hundreds coming at us like the movie showed. I probably people ask like how many rounds you went through. I would say max 200 rounds, because I was trying to pick my targets and I don't know how long I'm gonna be there, so it's not Call of Duty, it's not a video game, you run out of ammo, so but we had a Connex full, but you still gotta reload, so I don't wanna be stuffing mags in the middle of a firefight. But so we repel now, that's what, the 4th assault, and after the 4th assault, we hear, hell, okay, now the team from Tripoli, they had gotten into Benghazi, they're there, they're waiting for the militia that was supposed to bring them there wasn't there. They weren't present, so they're trying to get a hold of them, this and that. So we're just kind of hanging out and making sure once everything kind of calmed down. We waited. I think we waited about an hour or so, and then Oz he left the tower to go pack up his stuff, and he ended up on the building with Roan. So just kind of sitting there, a lot of downtime sucks after your adrenaline's pumping because you get drained really quick when you ain't doing a whole lot. But you can hear. I mean, there's always people in the shrub because you could hear them talking. I don't know if it was just weird, but you could hear the magazines banging around a little bit. So I don't. Maybe they're just I don't know. It's just weird. They might have been just been mumbling something because they're injured or something. I have no idea. But there's always something out there. It's just so freaking weird. Um, then next thing, now we're fast forward. It's about 5 in the morning. We get word that the militia showed up, um, picked up the team from Tripoli. Tonta moved from his building over to the building next to the front gate so he could lasso them in. That's where the whole they were we were lasering people. I mean, I lasered one guy with a visible laser because again they're just it was again just I think they were just workers that were showing up to work, but I lasered him and he went away. They didn't have guns or anything like that. But I just wanted they were kind of walking towards us, and I was like, no, no, you're not. And then so Tonto moved over to the front building, the last of the guys in with an IR laser, so they could see our exact location and be able to guide them in a lot faster. So they pulled up. I think it was like I would say like 10 of them or something like that that came from Tripoli, and so they all went in to the command post with the militia team leader or commander, whatever you want to call him, and um, he's Bub had served with Roan. Went says like, hey, where's Roan at? So they told him he's up on the building. So that's why Roan ended up on top of the building because he was friends. They both served in the SEAL teams, and so he goes up there and they're kind of talking. Um, and we're just kind of, I know myself and Tonto have talked about it. We're like sitting there, felt like forever again. Like, well, why are we going to get relieved so we can actually like come out of these towers, come off the buildings, kind of take a break, go to the bathroom, get it, whatever. And during this time, we kind of hear if you ever go to like the batting cages or the tennis balls where they don't launch the ball and they have that thump sound. That's kind
Yep.
of what
Jugs
yeah,
machine.
yeah. So
Yep.
that's kind of what a mortar sounds like when you're not right when if you're not right next to it from a little bit of a distance away. So I'm getting ready to key the radio again. I'm thinking, okay, they got to have the city locked down by now. I mean, we just had four major attacks, gunfire, explosions, but again, it is Benghazi, and I'm getting ready to key the radio, say, hey, I think I just heard a mortar launch. Tonto gets on. And that's when he says that, hey, anybody else hear that? I think I just heard a mortar. And I'm getting get back on the radio and say, I heard it too. It goes off. It hits small alarm fire. It hit just behind built just behind our back wall, kind of about 25, I don't know, 25 yards to the west and 25 yards north, just kind of like at a corner of one of the buildings that are in the Zombieland area where we get attacked from. But that mortar hit at the same time that mortar hit, an RPG was launched, small arms fire started engaging. So I'm still watching my sector. I can hear the belt fed going off, and next thing you know, I hear another thump. So another mortar's coming in. You just getting the mortars just suck no matter what. So it comes in. It hits the top of the back wall. That shrapnel comes up. It takes out Dave Ubin, which was up on the building with Roan, Oz, Bub, and um, yeah, Oz, Roan, and Bub. Sorry, guys. And so it took him down. Oz says he looks over. I mean, he's still breathing. He's asking for help, but again, we gotta repel the fight first. And so that drop again was about 25 yards, closer towards me, hit the back wall. Then I heard another one go off, and so again, I'm in the tower. The mortars when they go off, they go up and out. So I'm like freaking 7 feet up in the air, and I'm thinking from my point of view, it's walking towards me because we were like engaging. Maybe they're trying to take us out so they can come in over that wall. So I jump out of the tower. I move back, and just as I get to where the prison gym is, it strikes the top of the roof. And when just before it hit, you can hear the belt fed. It's just going off. You can hear, you just kind of know the different sounds between the firearms. And next thing it just goes quiet. So I'm like, oh crap. I'm looking up at it. You're kind of stunned for a couple seconds, like, and then you're waiting. Also, and I don't know if more mortars are going to be coming in. So I'm kind of sitting for a second, get on the radio and said, "Hey, you guys up on building 3, you guys all right?" Hush gets on the radio. He says, "No, we're all right in here." And kindly said, "Shut the fuck up. I'm talking about the guys up on building 3." And as I'm doing this, I'm still walking forward. I'm walking towards the building, just in case, nothing. And Jack, he's over on the building that's closest to that building. He gets on the radio. He says, "Hey, Tig, I got no movement. I can't see anybody." So that told me everybody was down. I immediately ran over, started climbing up the ladder, and the ladder was on the back side. So remember, we had just small arms fire. So I'm going up, and I get to a point where I'm getting ready to breach the top of the wall because the building's taller than the wall. And I'm looking over my shoulder, just making sure nobody's behind me going to shoot me in the back. Get close enough, I hurry up and I jump over. And there's still a lot of, I wouldn't say smoke, but whatever debris from the concrete getting exploded and stuff like that. So you can't really see completely across the roof, but when I jump over, the first thing I see is one of the guys. He's up against the wall and he's got his pistol out, kind of pointed towards me. And I'm just like, "Hey, man, how you doing? I'm here. I'm gonna help you." So immediately she just starts speaking English, so the durka durka, so I don't get shot. But so I immediately move up. I get on the radio. I said, "Hey, I got guys down. I need help." Put the radio down, grabbed the dude's pistol, said, "Hey, man, I got you, man. Don't worry about this." I'm just trying to talk to him, and because I can see his left leg, left arm almost completely severed off, and so I'm like, as I'm talking with him, I'm getting trying to search through my go bag. Actually, it was Oz's go bag. He left it in the tower. Because remember, I left mine in the vehicle, so I had no go bag anymore. I had no medical kit. I was still in Oz's stuff. But anyways, I was going through Oz's bag. I think he had some you know, panties in there or something. But anyways, I got as I'm talking with him because I'm trying to make sure he doesn't go into shock. Because that's the worst thing you want is for somebody to go into shock because then it's really crappy. But trying to keep him calm, trying to keep him thinking, I get the tourniquet, get one, I start putting it, wrapping around his leg. Um, that's one of the major arteries is in the leg. So and I just remember he was just telling me, "Sink it deep, man, sink it deep." So prior to the ambassador coming, we did some medical training with him, and that's what we taught him. That's what we're taught too. Because if for every time you're putting a tourniquet on and training, we kept saying, "Sink it deep, sink it deep." Because when you're stressed, you do things wrong a lot, for the most part. But if you do things repetitively, so we sink it deep. So we put it up as high in the joint that's injured as possible. Like if your arm's severed off right here, I'm gonna put the tourniquet all the way up here, all the way up in your armpit to get that main artery and just shut it off from the top. So that's what he was doing, and so I'm tightening it up, and I'm getting the other tourniquet, I'm getting that one on, tightening it up, and he's actually telling me tighter and tighter. If you ever put a tourniquet on and you tighten it up, that those things freaking to actually stop it, it hurts. It is very, very painful. But he's like tighter, tighter, tighter. Again, it's dark. I can't really see if it stopped the blood, but definitely tight enough to where I can know it definitely slows it down because I don't want to turn any lights on because they definitely had to have a spotter somewhere for them to be that accurate and that fast. Um, but I'm looking him over, making sure I don't see anything else major. And I didn't really see anything. Again, he's still talking. He's like, "All right, man, I got to go. I'm going to help these guys." I get on the radio. I said, "Hey, I got guys down. I need help here. I need up here now." As I go to turn to walk away, he goes, "Hey, man, I need my gun back." Thinking, "Oh, crap. Here we go." I'm like, all right, man, give me 1 second. So I just dropped the mag out, and I, discharge the round that's in it. Try to do it as quiet as possible. Hopefully, he kind of wouldn't. Maybe I don't know if he heard me or not or anything, but dumped the mag out and then I just gave him a clear gun back. Because again, it goes back to like keeping him active, keeping his brain thinking about something else besides just going into shock. So it's kind of like a security blanket too for him. So I get up, I start moving across the roof. I can see one guy, he's laying face down on the roof, not moving. I look ahead, I can see somebody kind of moving. I see somebody else, not really halfway, but more towards the where Oz was actually at, where I was headed towards. He's in the fetal position, and but again, not moving. So I go to the guy that's actually moving. Come up, Oz. He's kind of leaning up back against the wall. He's playing with his hand. He's got his hand. He's like, "Hey, Tig, check this out." I'm like, "Dude, what the hell are you doing? Quit playing with it. I know your mom told you. You can't be doing that." And he's like, "Yeah, but check it out." So there were jokes in there here and there and stuff like that because it helps us, it helps you just as well. So people, "Oh, you're cracking jokes like that?" Yeah, you kind of do. So, but so he stopped doing it, but he had his tourniquet out. He had one tourniquet out sitting next to him, so I grabbed that. I go and I get the tourniquet on him, and I'm looking him over, and I go, "Hey, man, are you good? Can you stand?" He's like, "Yeah," because he's kind of looking around. Again, I'm still the only guy up there. And he's looking around and he's like, "Well, I guess I have to get on." I get on the radio one more time before I help him up. Say, "I got guys down. I need help." OD, he gets on the radio and says, "If nobody's going to go get up on the roof and actually help, I'm going to get off this roof. I'm going to go do it myself." Hush finally comes on the radio and says, "No, don't just stay where you are. We're on our way." Not that they're coming up; they're just finally on their way. Um, so I get Oz, we get him standing up, and just kind of helped him walk a few feet, just kind of make sure he had a good balance. He kind of stumbled a little bit, kind of like a drunk man, for the most part, but he was able to walk pretty straight. So I walked with him until we got to the third guy. So I let him go, and he kind of did, got down on his own, rolled the third guy over, and ended up being Roan. Um, didn't see no movement. I went and checked for a pulse. He had his throat moved, kind of like he was like just swallowing or something like that. So I was like, okay, so but still didn't feel no pulse. I took his body armor off, ripped it up over his head, lifted up his shirt. Again, wasn't really dark, but it was you could kind of see decently enough. Um, so it wasn't had my flashlight out yet, but I was lifted up a shirt thing called look, listen, feel. You're putting your ear down towards their mouth. You're trying to see if you can hear a breath or feel a breath, and then you're looking down their chest and seeing if their chest or their stomach is moving. That's why you pull up their shirt. And I didn't have there was nothing, no breath, couldn't see anything. You're sitting there for what felt like an eternity, but it's probably like 2 3 seconds, something like that, just kind of waiting. Didn't see anything. So next thing was finally I had to break the light discipline. So I took the flashlight out, checked for pupil dilation. There was nothing. They never dilated whatsoever. So that kind of told me he was gone. And then with Oz going down the ladder and getting ready to walk into the the command post with all the case officers and stuff, they were going to start freaking out and screaming for Roan because Roan was the only medic that we had. So he was actually the base physician as well. So I got on the radio and said, "Hey, everybody, Roan's gone." Just kind of left it at that. Went over to the fourth individual, rolled him over, did the exact same thing. Checked for pulse, look, listen, feel, pupil dilation. There was nothing. Again, no idea who the guy was. Never met him before, but this ended up being Glen Doherty or Bub. And at this time, when I was actually moving from Roan over to Bub, they had finally got up on the roof. They're trying to figure out how to get Dave Ubin off. So they had one of the guys that went down. He got off the roof, and Dave Ubin, he's like pretty much as big as the guy in the movie. He's just a really big dude. I think he was like 6'4", 200 and something pounds. So really big. I think maybe 6'3", 6'4". But anyways, so they had actually went down, got some of our workout straps, and made a human backpack because he wasn't getting off that roof by himself whatsoever. But so one of the Delta Force guys that showed up, just made a human backpack, put him on his back, and then that's how they got Dave moving down. Well, in the process they were doing that, I was just kind of checking the roof, getting all the weapon systems. Because again, we didn't know if we were able to get the guys down, if we were just gonna have to, diddy mile out of there really fast, take off really fast. But I didn't want to leave any weapon systems behind that could be used against us. So I was just kind of scanning the roof, trying to get the weapons. Went over to the Roan, got his pistol out, and his weapon system actually he didn't have um, the belt fed. They actually got blown across the property when the mortars hit. We didn't go home with that. That was found the next day. But went through, make sure I had his wallet and anything that was personal that he had on him. Knelt down, said a prayer over him. Went over to Bub Glen Doherty, did the same thing, got his weapon system, both of them. He got the rifle and the pistol. Searched his pocket, see if he had any. I don't think he didn't have any wallet. No, he had his wallet with him, but that was really it. He wasn't married or anything, so no wedding ring, nothing like that. Um, said a prayer over him, and during this whole time when I'm doing this, I could just hear the guys. We got to get off the roof. Got to get off the roof. We can't be up here. Just like for me, if mortar, it doesn't matter if you're on the roof or not. Mortars keep coming in, we're dead. It, it just is what it is. I mean, um, the fact that that building didn't collapse on everybody inside, I mean, there's there's somebody up above watching us because where the mortars hit, the first one actually hit over. They kind of like had an overhang hit there. That's where a lot of the debris came from. Blew that. Then the other two that because it was a total of three that actually hit the roof. But the other three really didn't have the explosion impact that the other two did. Why, I don't know, but they went off. But they didn't make a crater. They didn't do any of that, which was really freaking weird. But they found the fin, so we know how many mortars they actually launched and hit. So again, somebody was protecting us. It wasn't that wasn't luck, but the fact that that building itself didn't collapse is amazing because it should have because it was eight, 381 meter, yeah, 81 millimeter mortars that hit the buildings. Um, so that happened. I get down, go in to the safe. I go into the CP. I grab some more tourniquets because now I was out of tourniquets. Now we got to worry about mortars. So I got 4 tourniquets, one for each limb, just in case. Go out and just we're just kind of hanging out, just kind of waiting to see what happens. We finally got word that they got a hold of another militia at about 300 men. They're going to come in gun trucks. Gun trucks. They have pretty much anything you can think about, from anti-aircraft gun to 50 cows on attached to them. So they come, they show up. The Delta Force guys that came, I'm standing there next to the building. They kind of comes, hey, we got to get Ron and Bub off the roof. And I'm like, all right, we got these. I don't know if you saw the movie. We have like a toe strap kind of thing that we use, because we got to work out somehow. So we drag a tire around and we just loop it around your body. It's nice and tight. It's like, we got this. We can use it and get them down. Like, oh, don't worry about it. We got this. So I'm thinking they're going to do the same thing. They're just going to strap the guys to them. They're going to come down the ladder. Well, they ended up just kind of getting these buildings. I mean, the pit is probably a good 30 feet up. I don't know how. Anyways, 15 feet, maybe 20 feet, and down below it's just a marble slab, and I'm kind of standing down below and see him put one of the guys up, not even thinking about it. Next thing you know, they just push him off, kind of like a sack of potatoes. He comes falling. So you hear that crunch and you hear the smack of the head, and it's something that definitely stays with you. Um, that was actually Bub, and again, I he had no major cuts on him, no nothing. But when they did that, he also fell into the bush, which actually slices his gut, his stomach open. So that wasn't very pretty. It wasn't like it didn't all everything didn't just like brush out, but it wasn't great. But then the second one was the worst one because now it's coming. The first one you just kind of what the hell, and the second one you're like, yeah. So that's how they got them off the roof. But we got them, picked them up. You got to keep going no matter what. Got them on the bed of the flatbed. Then kind of thinking it's completely over, right? So we leave our compound. We get to the airport, and the militia controlling the airport didn't like the militia that we were with, so we almost actually got in a firefight trying to get into the airport.
And you wouldn't have
But
been surprised if that happened. I mean,
yeah,
what
pretty much.
Par for
But
the course.
our militia was a lot bigger than yeah. So, but we had the gun trucks and all this stuff. They didn't really have the heavy stuff that these guys had, so they kind of flung the gates open. We go in. The bird, it's sitting there, it's waiting. We get all the non-essential personnel, get them loaded up, get all the sensitive equipment, get that all loaded up. From our compound, the State Department's compound, and by now, the plane's kind of. It wasn't a big plane, but it was a pretty decent sized plane, but not big enough to carry that much weight. Um, but Oz, they pretty much stripped him down to his skivvies, and he's just kind of covered in blood and stuff. He jacked up his arm pretty good, and this plane had a stewardess on it as well because it was like a billionaire that they had actually met. And so he comes walking up towards the plane in skivvies. Her eyes just get huge, right? And she's like freaking out. She started when Oz keeps coming. She just runs towards the back of the plane. And I was just like, whatever. So he kind of climbs up, gets to the top. It takes him a few seconds because he's still kind of, wonky. Um, he gets up, turns, starts going back, and she comes running from the back of the plane with a handful of towels. I was like, oh, okay, he's gonna wrap me up, cover me up. No, she starts covering all the seats up, the floor. She's got blood dripping. Didn't want to screw up her boss's plane, right? So I was like, yeah. Anyways, just wait till the next guy comes on. Dave Ubben, he's really screwed up. And he was kind of going in and out of consciousness because they couldn't really stop the blood, the bleeding. Because tourniquets don't always want to stop everything. It just depends on how the injury is. And he had a bunch of other um, small puncture wounds as well. But he was passed out. He's passing it out, so he couldn't walk. And they couldn't carry him, so he was on a stretcher. Well, when you went up on the plane, when you first entered, they had this nice cabinetry right there, nice mahogany kind of stuff. Well, it wasn't there when they took off, so we had to rip it out so we could get Dave Ubben in there on the stretcher, get him in through the doorway. So
Oh, well.
yeah, so much for covering the floor, right?
Right.
Well, to top everything off, the agency they hire, everybody. They're just like a normal company. They have maintenance guys, cooks, and support and stuff like that. And well, they carry firearms. Well, they're not as proficient at firearms as most people are, or they should be. The pilot told everybody they had to make sure their weapons were unloaded before he took off. Well, the maintenance guy, when he's unloaded his pistol, pulled the trigger, and the pistol went off. So when we're outside, we kinda hear a pop. We're like, "What the hell was that?" And because they actually had the door closed. We're like, "What the hell was that?" Next thing you know, the door flies open. The freaking pilot, I don't think he even touched the stairs, comes flying out of the plane. And, he's running up and down, because he just shot a gun. He didn't find any holes. They go back in, and, they're searching in the plane. Well, again, one of those divine intervention kind of things. When he pulled the trigger, the bullet went off, but it stopped right at the seat post, like a fraction, an eighth of an inch left or right. It have went through the. They wouldn't have took off. They'd have been stuck. And so when they left, if that would have happened, they said that when Dave Ubben got there, if he'd have been another 15, 20 minutes, he'd have bled to death. So again, a lot of stuff happened. But we stayed behind because then they couldn't fit us all in. We had no idea how we were going to get back. We didn't know if we were going to take some of the vehicles and do what I did initially, drive from Benghazi up to Tripoli. We just didn't know. Um, so as we're sitting there, kind of waiting, time ticks by. A Libyan C-130 comes landing in. We're kind of looking at it, and so we had the linguist from the Tripoli team stayed back with us, and the country team leader stayed with us. Our team leader, was with us, and so when the plane landed, we're kind of looking, is this us? Well, we knew it wasn't ours for us because they went and they turned and they shut everything down. We can see the whole crew; they're getting off, and they're go walking into a shed. So they definitely weren't there for us initially, but our the linguist, the team leader, they went over there and probably they went with the bag, didn't come back with a bag. So I'm assuming they got paid, and it was a Libyan C-130 that got us out of Benghazi.
Not one of our own, a Libyan.
So that's a short version.
Mhm. It's a
Wow.
short version.
Uh, I mean, that is as incredible a story as we'll ever hear. You can watch a movie, you can read a book, whatever, but hearing it from you is a totally different emotion, totally different, view of that. Because listen, whether it's police work, the military, whatever, we have a very good sense of putting ourselves in a story, and imagining being in there. Civilians, someone who doesn't go through it or doesn't know our mindsets when something bad happens. And bad police department is completely different than bad military, and I know that. But when you just kind of
Durka
picture
and
yourself
Durka.
being there and having to go through that, you and Wow. So listen, the one question I had, I actually thought about this today. Was there a point in time, and I really want to get this to you. Was there a point in time, whether you or the team together, that you sat there and went, "Yo, we're on our own. No one's coming. This is it. I mean, we're it."
The
Was that?
mortars,
Yeah.
when the mortars came in, it's kind of like, okay, we're done. Because I mean, between pretty much 9:30 till 5:36 when the mortars came. Again, we've been on our own. It's like, how is that possible? How can we have no friendlies whatsoever when again we what about 17 Fed? They're supposed to be this, they're supposed to be that. And we didn't totally trust them. We didn't train with them or anything like that. But we didn't want them protecting our compound. But it was just like okay. And then if then the 300-man military whatever militia is supposed to be coming, if they turn out being not the good guys, it's pretty much you're on your own. I mean, we're gonna have to jump because we had nothing against Dishka's anti-aircraft guns. It's gonna blow holes in the wall. So, but I would probably pretty much would say that point it was like we're screwed. Then when that militia actually the final one showed up, it was a huge relief. It was like, okay, we're getting out of here.
So the world watched these events, or at least got the reports of them, and story went out. Official story, right? This started from protests over a video. I think we've all learned
Yep.
since then that that was not exactly accurate, to be politically correct or to be diplomatic or to be kind. Not exactly accurate.
Yep.
Um, what else have you
I mean,
learned
I don't know how
since
many people
then?
bring RPGs to protest.
Yeah, I mean,
What's
it's
that?
just it's what you do, right? I mean, but I think
Yeah.
you were mentioning earlier, and is there anything you can share that you have learned since then? Um, that maybe the public didn't really know that they should know about what happened that night and what caused it and what the reactions were, and if there's people to blame for failures, where does that lie?
So each compound were attacked by a different group. Um, when we initially thought it was all part of the same thing, but it wasn't. It was two different groups. It was just and consulate was attacked by different by I gotta remember eight. I think eight Al Qaeda factions, which has never happened before. They don't usually work together like that, especially that many. They were planning it for about 3 months. Um, So again, it was a lot of stuff that was missed. Even we would report things even to the local government. Um, and like that morning, they found well they didn't catch him, but they spotted someone taking pictures of the compound that morning from a rooftop. And the ambassador, I don't think ever got that email out, but that morning when uh, when I took the chief of base. Anyways, went over to a meeting with the chief of base, and there we linked up with their local intel service, the Libyan intel service, and we were told that that morning that there was going to be an attack on a local government facility that day. So that's why a lot of the ambassadors' movement got shut down from going outside the compound to inside the compound. So technically, he was supposed to go meet the Turkish ambassador at his compound. So if we wouldn't actually shut that stuff down, the ambassador wouldn't even been there. He'd have been at the Turkish compound. But um, again, our CIA service, they weren't really not doing their true job what they're supposed to be doing there, which was hunting the terrorists and finding out the possible threats. I don't know. They're probably too busy worrying about the political aspect of everything. You know, because there's a lot of stuff that we got shut down from doing that we normally would do when Al Qaeda's in the area, which they were. We knew they were. We were spotting them. We were seeing their flags, and we were telling them, but we were being told to stay away. You can't do our normal stuff. So it was like every corner, Bob was shutting everything down. So again, it's we weren't getting the intel we were supposed to be getting, but um, So what I found out last year, which really pissed me off. But anyways, the follow-on attack, and the reason why, again, people will always want to blame Hillary, but got to put the blame where it truly is. The CIA fell, and that's why 4 Americans died. The initial assault happened was Hillary Clinton's fault. That's 100% her. If they would have if she'd have been paying attention to what was going on in that region, she'd have been paying attention to the two prior attacks of that consulate. The personnel that was there was a lack of personnel that was there. They should have had the protection that they needed. So
And the numerous communications she had between and Chris Stevens and her.
yeah,
I mean,
and try,
Chris was, and I use this term, Chris, the ambassador, was seemed to be very aware of the
oh yeah,
environment, of the threat streams, of everything going on, and was communicating that to who he should have been communicating it to, but
yeah,
ignored, no big
yep,
deal, political BS, which always gets people killed,
yep,
all the time. It just
every,
happens. Yep,
yep.
every time. When
So
when that enters the military, when it enters police work, when it enters, anything to do with what we do, people die. End of
yep,
discussion.
yep. I'm not trying to. Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking any blame off of her because overall it's her fault. Because if they would have been a hard target, it never would have happened. But so 17 Feb told told them that they were never going to come and help. They were never going to respond to anything if anything ever happened. Like a week or two prior, that night they actually got a hold of them and they told them that night that they were not going to do anything. That you guys are on your own. We were never told that. So here's the thing: like if we were being told, like, "Hey, 17 Feb was, ain't going to help if anything ever happens," State Department guys, the same thing. They didn't even know about it. So your security team doesn't know that the security team that's supposed to come and back them up is never going to come. So if we'd have known that, we would have left immediately. We would have told Bob just go pound sand like that other GRS team did that went and saved the British ambassador. That's the only reason why he's alive. But if we'd have known the right intel, we'd have told Bob to go pound sand and left. Ambassador Stevens, Sean Smith, 1,000% would be alive today, no doubt about it. Because we're not going to go in, we're not going to secretly go in and try to do some Jason Bourne stuff. We're going to go in exactly the same way we did. We're going to be loud and freaking fierceful. I mean, we're going to be laying some serious hate just like we did. I'm going to go up with the grenade. I mean, I had the grenade launcher. I was ready to go. You ready to use it? I got to use it. I would have did the exact same thing. So they wouldn't be able to light. I mean, then maybe they got the 17th Feb barracks building on fire first, but they wouldn't be able to get the villa, the main villa on fire because they had to deal with us. So is what happened when I launched the grenades. They didn't know what it was. They thought it was like overhead fire or whatever. The first round that went off, again, I was just in a hurry to get rounds down range. The first one that went off, they started taking off. So again, I mean, they just scattered. They took off as fast as
Well,
they
Tig,
could.
it's an offensive posture or defensive posture. That's
Yep.
two different worlds. Being aggressive and taking care of you to get out, or oh crap, we can't go anywhere. Now it's a defensive posture. Those are two different things. You
Yeah.
know,
You know,
wow.
interestingly enough,
So
to
again,
correlate it.
they'd be alive.
Yep. To correlate it, there's a lot of cops that'll tell you a story about the
And
people who shoot at them or point the gun at them, and the second a cop fires a round or two back at them, they don't know what to do. They're like, "You're not supposed to shoot at me." They drop the gun as soon as you get offensive, and it's you
yeah.
know just relative. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your point.
No, no, you're fine. No, so I mean, it took us a total. By the time the attack started at the consulate, they said it took us. I think it was just over 1 hour to actually get to the consulate because when we got there, it still took us a while to get to it. Uh,
And you're only
so
about a mile away, right?
as a crow flies, yeah, I want to think it was like I mapped it once. I think our route was like 2 miles or something like that. So it's fast. We were there fairly quick once we got in the vehicle. But that again, seconds count, especially. I mean, firefighters know it. You're in a fire, you got that smoke, you got to get the hell out of there. But they wouldn't. Again, they wouldn't be able to light the buildings on fire. Well, at least the villa, because they did the villa. after they did the um, 17 Fed barracks. So again, if we'd have got there right when we wanted to, within again, we're ready to roll out in 10 minutes, 15 at the most. They had not lit the buildings on fire yet. We were sitting in the vehicles waiting when they lit the buildings on fire. So again, we'd have been there. They'd both be alive. So um, and then on top of that, they weren't the reason why no airs why every all the military units got turned around and didn't keep coming towards us when we needed them is because our team leader Hush and the chief of base Bob wasn't reporting the follow-on assaults. So they thought everything had stopped when we left the compound when we went back to ours. That's why no help came. And that's why Roan and Bub are dead.
Wow.
And
Inexcusable. Absolutely infuriating. You know you know what? We heard all this, but hearing it again and hearing it from your mouth, it's just mind-blowing. It's infuriating that that happened.
yep, if they did their job, nobody would have died.
So you get out
And
of
the
there.
sad thing is, they end up go ahead.
No, I was just please, you continue.
No, I mean, they end up getting the Intel Star, which is equivalent to the Medal of Honor, and to me, it's just a complete disgrace. And what they gave us again, we don't do it for medals, but what they gave us was just a freaking a made up freaking thing to make us feel good or something like that. I mean, the cook got the exact same medal we did. The maintenance guy got the exact same award. I wouldn't say medal award that we did. Like, to me, it was just a slap in the face. I'd rather have gotten nothing. I mean, it's something I can give to my kid or something like that, but
It's just
I
patronizing.
yeah, especially knowing more what I know about John Brennan. I mean, that he was the CIA director at the time, complete piece of shit. And that's why they did it because a lot of guys that got the Intel Star said the same thing. All of us that went to the consulate should have got the Intel Star. Which again, hey, you don't do it for the medal, but yeah, there's like you go above and beyond, and you get a freaking, but
A
whatever.
letter, pretty much.
Yeah, but the guys that lie and cause, 4 Americans to die, they get awarded. To me, that's kinda where I think, like, the whole cover-up kinda thing came from, and they were pushing so hard. I think that's why the intel was pushing things so hard because the CIA themselves, they screwed up big time. I mean, their leadership was so shitty, they didn't know what they were doing, they didn't know how to do it. Um Yeah, and again, Bob, he was on his, that was his last duty station, so I think he was just afraid of going out with a bad mark, losing one of the GRS guys or something but, that's our job. Our job is to go rescue people, but our job wasn't to go rescue the US ambassador, because a lot of people don't realize, if something would have happened to if we got killed over there doing what we're doing to help the State Department guys, the insurance company would never paid out to our family. But it wasn't in our job duty, wasn't we were way outside of it. We were there just to protect who was on our compound, which was the CIA personnel.
You're there as Americans.
So you get back
Yeah, they are Americans.
and you're back in, the US and the talk of a book starting to, how does that start? And were you guys in favor of doing it? We've had people on the show before, with other events that have happened and they're like, I don't know, let me think about it. How did you guys feel about being involved in the book, which was maybe giving you the opportunity to do exactly what you did with us and get the actual story out? Was that the mindset of you guys?
Well, I really wasn't thinking about a book. I mean, to me, it was just another attack. I mean, yeah, it sucked. It was miserable, but I went back. I deployed 2 more times, and I was still working, but I think Tonto, I think he was writing the book in the middle of the firefight. I think he was just kinda taking notes. Um,
There's a recurring theme in
Oz
this interview.
Oz, he was injured. I don't know if it
Oh yeah, there is.
I
We're
don't
gonna make that zing number 3. Just that it's
right?
Tonto, but it's still 1. That's 3.
Um, but I don't know who really initiated. I don't know if it was Oz or if it was Tonto. It might have been Oz because Oz. I mean, he was pretty jacked up. He's not going to be able to shoot. You know, he can't do what he the job anymore. Um, so I think it might have been them two kind of talking a little bit back and forth and kind of got it going. And I had to wait for about I want to say close to 6 months for my lungs to heal up from going in and out of the building. Um, so when I went that trip, and when I came back, I kind of talked with them a little bit, and they were talking, "Hey, we're probably going to do a book," and I was like, "Yeah, okay, whatever. You can use whatever you want on my story." And again, once you're out there, you can't work anymore. That's kind of what the agency does, and I still liked it. I still wanted to do it. Putting warheads on foreheads, and um, next thing you know, I was just kind of started thinking they'd be like, "No, we really want you to be part of it." So I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll kind of participate in it." And it wasn't because I was still I wasn't going to put my name out there, kind of like Jack did. So you can kind of still work. You're just telling, like telling Oz exactly what happened, and we kind of relate it for the most part. And but then talking with the author, kind of telling the story and stuff like that. And it was probably, I don't know, about a week or so before the book was going to start printing to be pushed out there. The producer, I don't know what you want to call them, the publicist, whatever, and then the author, they're kind of talking to me, and they're like, saying, they're not going to believe Oz and Tonto about the stand down order and this and that. Because again, I'm the one that was told, it wasn't the other two guys, and they're like, you were part of, you're the one that went to the consulate, you're the one that went into the building, you're the one that went up on the roof, and you're the one that went up on the roof at the annex. So they're kind of like, you're like a major part, and they're gonna have to tell your story, which they're gonna say, yeah, why doesn't he come out and tell it? Why is how do we know it's true? And it's like, well, it's still in the book. So it's almost like the last second to where I finally decided, okay, I'll put my true name out there. Because initially I was just kind of like Jack, because I did. I mean, I liked the job; it was fun, but and started thinking about it, and that's what what was going on at the time is the media was just trying to turn everything and bash it, and then coming being part of it coming out, it's like that gives it more credibility, and people like, well, why don't you just come out and just go on the news and just tell? Why'd you go do a book to try to make they call it blood money? Like, well, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was actually part of it, and I didn't realize I actually bled too, and just So, but anyways, if we'd have went on the news and just told the story, they could have did whatever they wanted with it. They could have twisted it, they could have this, they could have did that. Where if it's written and then we also come out, they can't twist anything. I mean, there's nothing they can do about it. It's
They
right
can try to
there.
bury it. That's
Um,
about it. Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, but at that point, we hadn't lost a U.S. ambassador in like 30 something years. And then how we lost him again, not knowing now. I wish I'd known what I know now back before when we did the book, but I think it's important for the American people to know exactly how it happened. The why we're Americans. That's really what it was. It wasn't because of gun running. It wasn't because of whatever else. It was Al Qaeda. There was an easy target, and they did it. So, and the ambassadors showing there, it just sped up their timeline. That's all it was. They didn't care if ambassadors there; they were going to do it anyways. Just happened the ambassador wasn't like it was a kidnapping plot. Again, they've been planning it for months. They didn't know when the ambassador was going to come. They didn't know if the ambassador would ever come. So, again, it was just because their American flag in the compound. That's why they did it, and it was an easy, soft target.
Oof.
What a
Wow.
story. Uh,
Uh,
wow. We've seen the movie, obviously, and anybody who hasn't seen the movie, you have to see the movie. But if you had to give the movie a rating in terms of accuracy, on a scale of 1 to 10 or percentage, how accurate is that movie?
You know, it's been a while. I mean, I haven't seen it since even before it even came out. I pre there's a lot of things that didn't happen. Like I didn't lose a grenade launcher. I didn't get shot in the chest. Um, you know, there was no vehicle explosions. None of that happened. Trying. It's been a long time since I. Did I say I didn't lose the grenade launcher? Didn't lose the
Think you
grenade launcher.
mentioned it once.
Couple
I wrote
times.
down 3 times, but we're just gonna say once.
I was actually was I didn't even I don't remember even seeing that part in the movie, honestly, because I don't remember. I think I might have zoned out or something. But I was doing a speaking event, and somebody said, "How'd you lose the grenade launcher?" I was like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
well, in the movie, you lost I didn't lose the damn grenade launcher. So,
Well, if
but
you
again,
start
a
this
lot of things happen in the movie, like, but I would say again, 50%. You know, a lot of stuff that Jack did in the movie, I did in real life. I don't say a lot, some of it, and just certain things. Just, but they what Michael Bay said. They made Jack and Roan the lead role, so they'd have that Navy SEAL bromance thing, I guess. So that's kind of what his explanation. But again, it was just to honor the four guys and kind of get the story out there. Um, but I think they did a good job at it, and people like it. So
well,
Well,
you know,
I
we
mean,
have,
I don't know how to even
probably the same thing you do. We have enormous respect for you and appreciation for you and those like you who do the kind of work that you do or have done, protecting people all over the world, using your expertise, your training, your commitment, and your love of country. And we can't thank you enough for coming and allowing yourself the time with us to share your story to our audience. And we just appreciate it. We're glad that you
yeah,
survived, and we are honored to have you on the show, not just because of what you went through, but because of how you have used the experience to honor those who were lost that day. Um, it's a selfless way to do it, and it's typical of people who function at your level. Tier one operators like you are humble people, and they are servants, and so you've exemplified that today, and we really, really do appreciate the time you've given us. And we hope to break bread with you at some point because Tom and I are very big on that. We like shaking hands with people we get to know, and hopefully someday we can do that. And and you can buy. I mean, we'll buy for you. Tonto can buy.
right. We'll make Tonto buy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Get his ass over there and let him buy it.
Yeah.
Uh, but
Yeah, go.
you know what? We just, it's fascinating. You know, we started this show to do, to get stories like this out, but to actually meet you and have a friendship. And here's the thing with the NYPD, if you didn't notice yet, you're stuck with us.
That's it. We're done.
We don't go away. You're part of our world and our life and our family, and that's just the way we are. You're gonna get the holiday text messages now and all that stuff. It's just how we are. But the amount of respect that Dan and I have for you, and we talked about this before we did the show. Just what you are and the type of man you are, and everyone else that went through what you went through. Uh,
Except for Tonto.
I didn't say him. See, I didn't say I didn't. I just said them. I wasn't gonna say him. I'm not giving him any props. Oh,
Oh
we
my
gotta get
God.
him a copy of the show. He'll love it. Uh,
Right.
Yeah.
but thank you again. For your time and your story. Get out there on our show. On our show. I mean, that's something for us and a definite feather in our cap. So thank you for that.
Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah.
So
Uh,
next time we're in
so
Colorado, we're staying at your house, right?
Well, I got a backyard that's big.
we'll stay at Tonto's. Wherever.
He's in Nebraska.
We'll stick him in the backyard. We'll go to a
Yeah,
nice
that's
hotel,
all
that's all.
good. It's all
Yeah,
good.
well, I work at I'm training actually. I do training at DCF Guns here in the Springs. You can go out and do some shooting.
Okay.
Sounds
So,
great.
Uh, we'll stay in touch. We'll get something done, somewhere because we're gonna be doing some traveling, soon, seeing some people that are close to us and that we wanna go see, so you're gonna be part of that. And
Appreciate it.
Dan,
Get ready for it.
it happened again. You know, we get these guests that tell these stories and make us, me and you, look good. You know, and
Right?
you know we do. You guys do. We sit here and we become fans, as Dan has said
Hmm.
numerous
Big
times on
time.
other shows. You
Big
become
time.
a fan and become just part of the story. And the one big shout out I want to do, and we do this at the end of the show all the time, Tig, is just give remembrance to the fallen and you know, Christopher Stevens, Sean Smith, uh, Tyrone Woods, Glen Doherty. We have to remember them and remember this was on September 11th. You know,
Mm.
and it should be part of what goes on September 11th, 2001. September 11th, 2012 should be just as remembered in our minds. It should be, and not enough people, like I said in the beginning of the show, realize all this happened on that date. And we have to just keep it alive and keep it out there and keep reminding people, and also keep reminding people of the dangers of people that think they're in charge and think they're smart and they're not. And those are the most dangerous people on planet Earth. Uh, and we have to keep bringing that out.
No, I totally agree.
Well,
So,
thank you again.
go ahead, Danny.
To belabor the goodbye, we'll just say thank you. We will be in touch with you periodically with for a variety of things, and we really, really appreciate meeting you and your time. And Tom takes us out with remembrances always and prayers for members of law enforcement and the military. And I like to say, if you see a member of the military in uniform traveling someplace or in a restaurant, if you can buy them a meal, if you can shake their hand, if you can buy them a cup of coffee, give them a fist pump, let them know you appreciate them. That means a lot to people, and it's a real nice, easy thing to do. So do that. Don't ever forget because they're putting their lives on the line for us, and we have to always appreciate that. So with that, Tom,
Mm.
I think I've taken us out already. So why don't we let Tig get back to his life? And he's playing
Yes,
pickleball with Tonto in
absolutely.
an hour. I understand, right?
Right?
So, again, for John Tig Tiegen, thank you so much. For my partner, Dan Murphy, for our plug that we have to do every show, make sure you go to youtube.com/@goldshields, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell, get all the notifications, rumble.com/goldshields, hit the follow button so you're up to date on all our shows and, of course, on all audio podcast platforms that the show is on. We thank you for all the followings that we have and our audience and everything. We can't thank you enough. You make the show run, and when we keep having people like Tig on, it makes it nice and easy. So for Tig, for my partner Dan Murphy, Tom Smith again for Gold Shields, everyone out there, stay safe, and we will all see you very soon.